Here. Clausen. Here. Fernandez. Here. Fink.
Here.
Hill. Here. Keel.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Lewis. Here. Masters. Here. Moriarty.
Here.
Richards. Here. Shock. Here. Sentence.
Here.
Seekman.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Stanek.
Here.
Proxy Van.
Here.
Severson.
Here.
Fosfed.
Here.
Jamalovich.
Here.
Alright, did everyone get a chance to look at the agenda for today? Any additions or anything need to be made? Nope. Alright, all those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say sign. Agenda is approved. Next, did everyone get a chance to see the minutes? I believe they were sent out last night or this morning. Did everyone get a chance to look at those minutes? Yep. Any edits to the minutes? Any amendments?
There was a couple changes made. Thank you to Vice President Lee. There was an incorrect, the most prominent was there was an incorrect name. It was incorrect on the school website, so I will not take full responsibility in this case.
Alright, any other edits to the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
All those same sign. All opposed same sign. Alright, or minutes, sorry. Yes. Alright, that passes. Next, we have our open floor guest, Dr. Tandy. President Tandy, sorry. You would like to?
So I had a few notes. Hagen gave me a few questions to address, but I thought I'd first just start by giving you a little bit about my background, and then I'll get to the points that you wanted to make. So, again, for Brian Tandy, I'm happy to be the 20th, honored actually to be the 20th president of South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. I came here from the University of North Dakota, where I was the Dean of Engineering for the last 5 years or so. And I've been at UND for a total of about 17 years or so. My background is in chemical engineering, and I started there as a faculty member, and then became department chair, and eventually associate dean, and then the dean. Our college is my old college, I should say, is a lot like our campus in terms of the mix of programs. There's a few things that we have here that we didn't have at UND, but the size of the student body, about 2,700 students was pretty similar. And so I felt like I was pretty well prepared for this job, especially on the academic side, because I'm familiar with most of the programs that we have here. In engineering education for most of my career, and really feel a lot of similarities. But honestly, I would say that some of the things are even stronger here. Like the culture on this campus is quite a bit stronger. The passion that our alumni have for this campus is even stronger. UND has some really passionate alumni, but there's something that we're doing right here that 30, 40, 50 years down the road, people still feel strongly connected to this campus. And so, again, I'm really proud to be here and happy to be part of this community. I grew up in northwestern North Dakota, a small town called Stanley. I graduated with like 37 classmates, one of whom is now my wife. I hope you all get a chance to meet her. We're in a bit of a transition period for the next year and a half. We have 4 kids, 3 of them are out of the house, but our youngest, our daughter, is a junior, and so she's got a year and a half left. I'm not going to force her to move to Rapid City. I don't think it would be fair to her, so she's going to stay there, and my wife will kind of split time between here and there for the next year and a half before she's down here full time. But you'll be seeing plenty of her around, but I think she'll be trying to be pretty visible around when she's in town. She's also an academic. She's the chair of nutrition and dietetics at UND, and was ready for something different, and so this will definitely be different. And once she comes down, she'll be looking for opportunities as well. So we don't have a nutrition department here, but I don't think we're probably going to start one. So, but she's a registered dietitian and may go back to work in clinical practice as well. So anyway, I grew up in Stanley, went to the University of Minnesota, where, like Nicholas, I was a double major in chemistry and chemical engineering. I kind of cheated, I think, because I didn't have to take any additional classes. I just chose the right electives, and they gave me a chemistry degree. So I don't really call myself a chemist, but I'm more of a chemical engineer who happened to also get a chemistry degree along the way. And then I went to the University of Delaware for graduate school. That's where I got my PhD, and I focused on materials, mainly polymers and composite materials. After my PhD, I went into industry. I worked for General Electric in their plastics division. I worked in a big polycarbonate facility in Mount Vernon, Indiana, and I was a product developer. So my job was to make new materials to meet our customers' requirements, and those customers were in the automotive industry and in transportation. Like, you think of like when you're in an airplane and there's these thermoform panels on the side of the airplane, they're plastic. I developed some products for that industry. It has to be ductile enough to have high impact resistance. It has to meet all the flame, smoke, or toxicity requirements from the FAA, and has to meet cost requirements and all those kind of things. From there, I went into the composites industry. I wanted to move back closer to home, and so I moved to Fargo when I worked for a division of Marvin Windows, and we made like frames for windows and doors out of composites, fiberglass composites. And then about 2006, I got the bug to go back into academia. There was an opening in chemical engineering at UND, and I always enjoyed my time teaching when I was a graduate student, and wanted to do research and develop a research program around bio-based materials and materials in general. And so that's what led me back to academia, and that's where I've been since. So, and along the way, I'll tell you a little extra thing that I did. Some of the people that I worked with at the company in Fargo and I started a company that made paints and coatings. Do any of you hunt? Okay, any waterfowl hunters? Okay, so one of the interesting things about birds in general is that they can see ultraviolet light. So you and I have trichromatic vision. We have these cone cells on our retinas that are sensitive to blue, red, and green. And every color that we see is some combination of those three. Well, birds are tetrachromatic, so they have a fourth cone that's sensitive in the ultraviolet. So birds can see UV that even though we can't. And so where that's relevant is in the design of products like decoys. Okay, so if you think about a white snow goose, okay, it's reflecting light that looks white to us. It also reflects strongly in UV. White paint, on the other hand, is white to us, but it absorbs strongly in UV. It's because it contains a lot of things like titanium dioxide that absorb UV and improve its weatherability and opacity. So we developed some coatings that reflected light in the same way that actual feathers do, and that product was called UVision, and we eventually licensed it to Flambeau, which is a decoy manufacturer. So if you ever see any Flambeau decoys and it says UVision on it, that was a product that I developed. So yeah, it was cool, and that led to another product that we called Unicept. And so we created these paints and coatings for decoys, and a company that was in the business of UV germicidal irradiation in hospitals was looking for a UV reflective coating, and they bought our decoy paint, and they painted a hospital room and found that it improved the effectiveness of the germicidal systems. And so they came to us and we reformulated to optimize it for UVC, which is the germicidal wavelengths of UV, and then launched another product that we call Unicept. So I'm not involved in the business other than collecting checks from the mailbox and depositing, and we just license that to the companies that actually make it. But it was a really fun thing, and it really got me very interested in innovation in general and entrepreneurship. And I'm telling you this because, not to brag that I did this product development stuff, but that really affects how I approach this job. I think this campus needs to be as innovative as possible. It needs to support entrepreneurship. Any of you who have a goal of starting a business or have an idea already that you want to develop, I think this campus should be here to support you in every way possible. So anyway, so that's my story. I'm going to go into the questions that I got from Hagen. So what are my 1 to 3 goals for this presidency? And so I made a few notes. Obviously, we have a strategic plan. You probably have seen it. It has a number of metrics around enrollment and research, and those are definitely important things and things that we need to support. Enrollment is important for a number of reasons. First of all, we need to be able to provide the workforce that our economy needs to continue to grow. And the world needs more scientists, the world needs more engineers, and we have a really important role to play in that. So part of our mission is to inspire young people to go into science and engineering. I want to do as many of those things as we can. Once students are here, I want to make sure that we're educating them as best we can and preparing them as best we can for their future careers, whatever path that might be. And then I want our research mission to help us answer the difficult problems, solve the difficult problems we have, and help make the world a better place. And so that's why enrollment and research are really important parts of our strategic plan. And in general, I just want this campus to be as aligned with the needs of Rapid City, South Dakota, and the country as possible. One of my major priorities when I was dean at UND was to make sure that we were as aligned with the needs of the state and the needs of our region as possible in terms of which programs we offer and what research capabilities we have. I wanted to make sure that we matched the local industry needs. And so I wanted to do the same here. I think we do a pretty good job, but I've heard of a couple things that the city would like us to do a better job of. In fact, you heard about it last week when the mayor was here. They want to grow this economy in Rapid City. I think they have some bold plans, some ambitious plans. This institution is literally like the #1 source of new, smart, talented people to Rapid City. You know, some of you probably grew up here, but many of you came here from other places like Colorado or Wyoming or Minnesota. This is the #1 pipeline of smart, talented people to this region, And one of the criticism, maybe not criticism, but concerns I would say that people in the community have are that not as many of you are staying here as they would like, right? So when you come here, we educate you, you go off to do amazing things all over the place. How can we keep more of you here in Rapid City and help grow the economy, right? And of course, it's your choice where you end up working, and some of you want to work somewhere where it's not, blowing 50 miles an hour and below freezing. But this is a really cool part of the country with a lot of great things going for it, and I want to work very closely with the city to help them achieve their goals. The Innovation District, which I think the mayor mentioned last week as well, is a really cool concept, and I want to make sure that we're helping support that in every way that we can. So I'm sure you've seen the Elevate Rapid City building, the D-Lab they call it, down the street here. That whole area, the city is starting to accumulate some property there. The university and the foundation are buying up some properties, and the vision is that, whether it's 5-10 years from now, there's a lot of tech-based businesses occupying the real estate around here and employing our graduates and generating more economic activities. And along with those things, other amenities that would help make this a more attractive place for our students to want to stay and for other people to come to Rapid City. So that's another top goal of mine, is to make sure that we're supporting Rapid City and more broadly the needs of the state of South Dakota as much as we can. And then the other main thing that I wanted to say is I really want this institution to be a leader in innovative engineering education. If you think about it, you don't have this context, but if you were to go back 50 years, none of you were alive, I'm barely alive, I'm almost 50. The way that we educate engineers and scientists has not really changed all that much, to be honest. But there are some really cool things that have been developed over the years that I would like us to restart thinking about. And in fact, next week I have a visitor coming. He was, and I'm going to pass this around, and maybe you guys can take a quick look and pass it along. I wish I had more, I only had the one, and I need it back. So we have a visitor next week. His name is Ron Olseth. I met him a couple of years ago. He was one of the founders of a program in northern Minnesota called Iron Range Engineering. And that program is really interesting, I think, because it's all work-based education, or it's mostly work-based education. So students come to their campus for one semester, and they teach them the design process, they teach them a lot of professionalism type skills, and then those students are required to go out and find an engineering internship. And the rest of the program is all through internships. So while they're off doing an internship, which is required to be a real engineering internship, where they're doing some real engineering work, they're taking some classes online, and they're also checking in with a learning coach and faculty on campus regularly, presenting about their project and so on. And I'm not advocating that that's what we do here, but I'm just presenting that as a really innovative way that at least one school is educating engineering students. We've also done some interesting things at UND that are similar, where it's not necessarily internship based, but it's all project based. So we started a biomedical engineering program at the undergraduate level 3 years ago, and we started based on a model called innovation based learning. And in that program, students don't do tests, quizzes, and homework. It's all project-based, and it's all what I would call in-context learning. So it's biomedical engineering, but they don't take a separate anatomy and physiology course. They have a project that they work on, and they learn what they need to learn while they're completing the project. And I think it's an interesting approach because it gets students doing design work immediately. It gets their learning connected to a real-world problem right away. And let's face it, the tests, the quizzes, the homework, some of these are high stakes things that cause stress and in some ways get in the way of actual learning, right? And it's a lot more aligned with what your jobs are going to be like once you're in industry, right? You're not going to be taking tests in industry. You're going to be working on real problems, and so the more that we can train students to really be problem solvers from day one, and instead of optimizing their life around doing these quizzes and homeworks and those kind of things, the better, in my opinion. So those are just a couple of examples of interesting things that we're doing, and so this speaker will come and talk about a report that he was one of the lead authors on called the Mindset Report, and this was issued last year by the American Society for Engineering Education. And it has a whole lot of recommendations that are along the lines of those programs, but goes well beyond that as well, to make programs more flexible, to get industry more involved, make sure students are working on real problems, and then one of the key things that it really talks about is how we teach math. All right, so math, I loved math until I got to graduate school, and then I hated math. Some of you may have started to hate math before that. Some of you might love math, but I think the evidence has shown that the way that we traditionally teach math is not optimal. All right, teaching math for the sake of math doesn't always work for everybody. And I've met a lot of people who said, oh, I started engineering and then I couldn't get past calculus 2 and now I'm doing something else. We've probably turned away so many people who could be very talented engineers because they got bogged down in math or some of those early classes. All right? So one of the recommendations is to teach math in context, like I described earlier, where you might not take a standalone math class. Instead, you might learn how to do derivatives and integrals as you're learning physics, or as you're learning statics or dynamics or something like that. Like you're learning the math as you're going to use it, so you immediately see the connection between why I'm doing this mathematical derivation and a real world problem. So that's one of many recommendations in there. So the point of bringing this, one of the lead authors here to campus, is just to start a conversation here about how we can maybe think about doing things differently. I'm not coming in saying, we gotta change this, but I want this whole campus community to start thinking about different innovative ways of doing things. So anyway, so to that end, he's going to be here at 3 o'clock next Thursday talking to faculty and staff. And one thing I was going to suggest, and I can follow up with Hagen later, he would be available for like a more of a student-focused session later on, so like maybe at 4:30 that day, if students are interested in learning more about what his experience is putting together this report, we can make that happen as well. So, anyway, where did my all right, so anyway, those are vague goals. I haven't given you any real clear metrics about what I want to do, but those are generally the things. Getting ourselves aligned as well as we can with Rapid City, the state of South Dakota, developing the workforce that we need, etc., and making sure that we are as innovative as possible in our educational programs. All right, another question he asked. What does he want to do to engage students, and how does he want to interact with students? My goal is to be as visible as possible on campus. I don't want to sit in my office all the time. I mean, today was a bad day. I think I only got 2,100 steps. Doing meetings all day. I want to get out and meet as many students as possible. I've been going to as many sporting events as I could. I went to a football game when I was here to interview. Plan to attend plenty of football games. Been to several basketball games. I want to get to know this community as much as possible. I want to be really approachable, and if you see me walking around, please stop and say hi. And tell me what's on your mind, tell me what your concerns are, and I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to make your experience here as valuable and enjoyable as possible. So, I've been an engineering student myself. I know it's not always fun, but it's worth it. And but there are definitely things we can do to make it less stressful and more enjoyable and more valuable. So, and we've got a great team of people. Dean Joe and his team, our mission in life is to do all of this and make sure you're all taken care of it. So, anyway, one thing I thought that might be nice is to have maybe each semester kind of a student town hall meeting where, we have, every semester we have this thing called convocation where all faculty and staff come and give updates about the various things that we have going on. Happy to do that. I'm sorry, maybe we already do something like that, but giving an update about generally what's going on, things that might be useful for you to know, and then using that as an opportunity to get feedback from you as well. So it's something I would also suggest, and I'll let you guys tell me if you think that's going to be valuable. So, and then beyond that, I'm happy to visit any of your student orgs, departments, anything where you want me to come and you think it would be useful for me to come and talk about what's going on at the university and get some feedback from you as well. So open invitation to all of you. All right. I think that's it. Relationships with industry. I want to make sure that we are as connected to industry as possible. That was one of my goals when I was doing engineering as well. Some of those innovations in engineering education are about getting us more closely connected with industry. We need industry to come and bring us real world problems and let our students help solve those problems and make sure that what we're teaching our students here is what they're going to find most useful in industry. There's always a harm having our programs, completely determined by, in some cases, people who haven't actually worked in the industry. And so I want to make sure that all of our advisory boards are really engaged in giving feedback to our programs to make sure that we're actually teaching relevant information and not just teaching the same stuff that I was taught 30 years ago. Because we're all going to work in fields that are very fast moving and changing, and we need to make sure that our programs are connected. So that's one of the many reasons why we need to stay connected in this field. So things like innovation-based learning, where students are working directly with companies on projects, are something that I hope that we can expand here as well. I already mentioned our biomedical engineering program at UND. Associated with that was a space that we called the Bio-Innovation Zone, where companies were actually on campus having a presence working directly with our students and faculty. And I think we have some of that going on in the B Lab, and I want to make sure that we can expand that as well. So, more that we can get connected with industry together. Anyway, I feel like I've rambled on long enough, so maybe I'll stop and take any questions, and if we have time, I actually have some questions for you, but I'll just stop there and answer any questions that you have.
Yes, so one of I know you're promoting basically more internships, but I know another thing that is kind of hard for students to swallow here is co-ops, because if you're like a mechanical engineer or electrical engineer, it sometimes pushes your graduation back by a whole year, because how senior design works for chemical engineers and electrical engineers, maybe other ones I'm not quite sure, is that it's fall to spring only. So you basically a 5-year track to take a co-op. Is there any way to like remedy that, or like plans or anything?
Yeah, that's part of the recommendations in that report are just making programs more flexible. I think we should look at some of those bottlenecks, like if there's a two semester long senior design, can we offer it more frequently? Can we offer like a summer, fall, or spring, summer, or something like that? I think expanding summer options might be helpful. And then one thing that we had quite a bit of at UND are online courses and online programs. So students could go off and do a co-op and still take a couple classes. And I think typically at UND it really only costs students an extra semester to do a co-op. They usually, I've never met a student who regretted doing a co-op. I think it's definitely beneficial. It does tend to delay things, but I think there's ways, like I said, that we can minimize how much it delays things. So I don't know, what would you think could be done to make that less of a time?
Personally, I didn't to get co-ops, so that's why I asked that question. But when I was there, a lot of Iowa State people were there also. What they did was they did like a summer fall, like senior design, which helped them just graduate only a semester later versus 2 semesters later, which I think is a lot more attractive to a student because you're taking a semester off. But you're actually just not losing like a whole other semester with that.
Yeah. Are you an ME
Yeah.
student? Okay. Yeah, I think it might be challenging in smaller programs, but in ME, you would think that there'd be enough demand that they should be able to offer some section design. Anyway, okay, well, that's good to know. I'll try to look dig into that. Thank you.
What ways do you plan on trying to attract, I guess, more attention or resources to sports, that sort of non-academia part of the campus?
Sports and what?
And like fine arts, music, and all of that.
Well, I think we need to attract more students who can write their own music and perform their own music. I don't know. Although I was very impressed with that, I have to say. I'm sure all of you already know this, but he composed a beautiful song that they sang at the Cathedral concert. I'm happy to do that. But no, those things are really important. And sports as well. I'm a big sports fan. I'm not talented musically. My kids are much more talented, and watching them grow up and participate in all these things has given me a much more appreciation for it as well. And they're all things that enhance the experience of being a student, but also make our students, give our students some skills and experiences that they may not otherwise get. So they're important. Sports-wise, we have a new athletic director. I think he has big ambitions and wants our athletic program to be as strong as possible. We talked about a number of things, improving our football facility being one of those things, and I think that's something that we should really take a serious look at. It doesn't just benefit the football team, but especially its location and the fact that it's used by the 2 high schools in town and for other things. I think it would help kind of up the image of this university quite a bit if we can have a facility that we're really proud of and happy to show off to all our visitors. So, working with him on some ways to enhance our other athletic programs as well. And so I don't have any concrete plans other than I do appreciate all of this things and understand the importance and want to make sure that we highlight those things. So I'm impressed with our music program. I know I said it earlier, but it's I would put our music groups up against the groups that I saw at UND do, and they have big music program with music majors, and I found our students to be just as talented as they are. So in addition to being great engineers and scientists, we're creating really well-rounded students, and I think that's part of our signature here. Questions?
Yeah, I have like a couple questions based on like the presentation. So the first one is like you mentioned that there are programs here that weren't UND. I'm just curious what these programs were.
Yeah, so industrial engineering we didn't have, mining engineering we didn't have, like management, well then biology, chemistry, physics, math, we're not part of my college, but we have it at UP, and we work pretty closely with them, so they're not new in general, but having them under my area of responsibility.
So, I guess follow up to that, and then with the industrial mining and the management ones, like, how is that kind of, like, I guess, like, what's your, how would I phrase this? Like, what's your view on, like, how are you kind of adjusting to that, I guess?
Yeah, how am I gonna get up to speed on those? Yeah, I think, well, mining especially, I've already had meetings with the departments there, and, you know, we were the College of Engineering and Mines, but we didn't have mining engineering, we had probably geological engineering, which was probably the closest thing that served a similar industry, so, well, I've never been through an ABET review for mining engineering, but I'm generally familiar with mining and the companies that operate in the mining industry. Although there's different types of mining going on here, so you know, I'll rely on the department and the faculty to visit their department meetings and learn a little bit more about the program and their interaction with the industry. You know, I do know there are fewer mining engineering programs than there used to be, but the need for mining engineers continues to grow. I mean, I can't remember the numbers, but I remember reading something about how much mine material we're going to need for all of the electrification of transportation and all of the other materials that we need for sustainability. You know, it's more important than ever, even though there are fewer programs than there used to be. So, anyway, it's a very important part of what we do, and I'll work with the faculty and the department to learn as much as we can about the program.
And then, I guess I have one final question, also based on presentation. And this is based on like IronSet, is that what it's called, IronSet? Or like
the engineering, the Iron Range engineering?
Iron Range, sorry.
Yeah.
Iron Range. So could, I guess Nicole mentioned this a little bit earlier, or Senator Chan mentioned this briefly in this thing, but they're co-ops, a lot of students here go on co-ops per semester, and you mentioned that the internship program is kind of interlaced with like how the students are learning this program. If you wanted to use that as a basis, could co-ops be a good starting point, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, let me ask you a question. When you go on co-op, do you get credit for it?
Yes, and there's 3 credits for a senior went through the United States.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, what this program does is their entire, all their design courses, assuming, they have certain requirements for the type of internship they have to get, and you have to be able to justify that they're learning what they need to in terms of design, and so, but I could see us developing some ways where the design requirement is met through a co-op, given that it meets certain criteria, and so more than 3 credits, and perhaps replacing more of the courses that we have this year. I think it's worth exploring. It would have to be something that the faculty get on board with, but those are the kinds of innovative things that other schools are doing that I think we need to both look at.
All right, so understand.
One kind of question that goes back to what the mayor said earlier last week was, how do you make this town more a mines town? Because it feels separated from the city itself in some sense.
Yeah, I think the innovation district is a longer term thing, but if we can, and this is one of the questions I have for all of you, is if we can move the center of mass of campus more towards downtown, that's something students would generally support, but I think it would help us get more connected to downtown. There's kind of, the core of downtown, there's our campus, and then there's this area in between, which is a hodgepodge
different things and a lot of low quality housing and all kinds of stuff that gradually I think will get replaced with, hopefully, new businesses and new amenities that make it better to live here. But
I don't know, I think a close relationship with the city, getting South Dakota Mines branding throughout the city. I've been in other places that were true college towns, and even though the campus may be in one part of town, you could feel the presence of that campus throughout town. Everybody was excited about whatever the sports team was, and you could see the colors kind of in places all over town, and it just felt like it. Like Manhattan campus, for example, where K-State is. You see purple all over town, right? You don't necessarily see that. Now they're a much bigger portion of the town than we are in Rapid City, but I think some of those things we could do more of by working with the city. I don't know, that's one idea. Do you have other thoughts about what we could do?
We'll go Senator Boucher.
yeah, so
Sorry, I was standing up there and I didn't want to neglect all of you back here.
So first of all, I would like to thank you for the donation to the food drive.
Yes.
And the other movement. Second, with the expansion of the campus and expansion of the school in general, there already are problems with the parking spaces. How is that? Are there any plans with addressing that issue?
Yeah, it's a good question. We had the same issue at UND. Everybody, maybe every college campus is the same. People complain about parking. And what I've heard here is similar to what I heard up there, which is we have plenty of parking spots. They're just not where people want to park. And so there's always high demand parking lots that get filled up early. I don't know. What do you think would be best? Do we need to build a parking ramp so that we have a much higher concentration of parking in the places where people want to park? Or
That's a
yeah.
good question. I was hoping for some answers.
So if we build new academic buildings and we put them kind of on this side and we kind of spread things out, I mean that's one way. I mean it makes it harder to walk from one end to the other, but it does reduce the density and kind of spreads people out a little bit more. So that's a thought. Other than that, just parking ramps, increasing the density. I don't know. I guess this is why it's a problem on every college campus, because there aren't any great ideas.
So Senator Fink.
So, Hagan asked you about the mining department and industrial engineering management. Have you talked to the department head of industrial engineering management yet?
I visited the space in the basement of the library. I think I said hi to her, but I haven't spent a lot of time there yet. So, I've been here only a couple of weeks, but yeah. Why do you ask?
Because I'm industrial engineering.
Okay. What do you think I should know about industrial engineering, the department and the program?
I mean, we do have a great program here, which is why I came here. I live very, very far away. So we do have a fantastic program, and we are losing one of our oldest professors here, or like most longest having professors here recently in 9 years. So
Retiring or?
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm a fan of the program, so I just wanted.
Yeah. No, I have a lot to learn about it. I've hired industrial engineers in the past. I understand industrial engineering and appreciate it, and so I'd love to learn more about the program and what we can do to enhance it. So, yeah, maybe I could come over there and you can show me around and learn more about it.
If I may ask real quick, Senator Fink, who are we losing?
We're losing Dr. Jensen.
Okay. Alright. We'll go to Senator Syverson.
So you mentioned about maybe making the school part a more integral part of the city. Part of that, like you talked about, maybe expanding campus towards more downtown. I think a part of expanding campus would be that you need more students, and more students, with more students, you probably need more programs. So long term, is there any other like programs that you're interested in expanding or departments?
Yeah, good question. So we've already started the process to start a data science program at the bachelor's level. And so that's already been approved, and I think we're just doing some of the final steps that, I think it might actually launch in the fall. More of kind of a soft launch, because we just got approved, we haven't had time to really advertise it, so maybe the more formal launch might be in fall of 26. The next one that I've heard is something around robotics or automation, something to that effect, that we think there's going to be some demand for. I started 2 programs at UND. One was the biomedical engineering program I talked about, which we already have, but the other was aerospace engineering. And that was, I mean, in 2 years it went from 0 to 165 students, so there was just a lot of demand. Now, we benefited from the fact that UND has a big aviation program and already, was out marketing aviation and aerospace quite heavily nationally, but I've heard aerospace engineering mentioned as well. So beyond that, one of the things that South Dakota does differently than North Dakota is they try to avoid duplication between all the institutions. So there's six schools, and they're really working hard to differentiate campuses. And so there's a campus in South Dakota that is all about cybersecurity. I can see us doing more in cybersecurity, but it would probably be in partnership with Dakota State in some way. Anyway, those are the ones that I'm familiar with that I would be interested in exploring, and things that are already in the works. What are other programs that all of you have at least talked about? Like, oh, I wish we had this program, or I would have majored in this if we had it. Petroleum engineering. Yeah, it's a tough one though, because we had petroleum engineering at UND started like 10 years ago. It went from 4 students the first year to 400 students, and then it kind of settled in at around 100 to 150. But still, like, students have high school students have this conception about petroleum engineering that it's throwing away, or those jobs won't be around for much longer. But it's really obviously not true. The oil and gas industry is going to be around for a very long time, and the skills that you learn as a petroleum engineer apply to things like geothermal engineering, advanced geothermal systems. We use a lot of directional drilling and things like that. Carbon capture and sequestration involves a lot of the same kind of techniques. So that's what we would tell students when we were recruiting them, and some of them still were a little uneasy about trying to be too focused on that industry. But like I said, I think those are generally misconceptions. So all right, petroleum engineering, add that to the list. What else?
Just give me a bigger one. And then I think we're going to go Senator Clausen and then Senator Hill.
So kind of going back to mining engineering and whatnot, and other kind of niche program, relatively unknown programs, what do we do to, as far as outreach, letting people know that, hey, this is a program that exists, because there's people out there that, that's probably perfect for them, but, what's mining engineering, what's this or that,
Yeah, to answer your question, I don't think you can see that. When I came here, that was one of the things I heard repeatedly was we need to do a better job of marketing. And marketing the school in general, and all the other great things that we have going on here, but also marketing specific programs. And I think it needs to start. We need to reach students younger and younger. not just, you can't just go to high school seniors and say, hey, we have mining engineering. We need to go down to the middle school level and get students interested in mining engineering. One thing that I've invested in quite a bit in the past is robotics, because, you know, the students are doing robotics in elementary school and middle school and high school, and so we invested a lot in the outreach in robotics. So I hired a guy who coached Vex robotics teams and was part of the group that organized the Minnesota State Vex robotics tournament, and we hosted a huge tournament in Grand Forks. And that's a great way to reach kids who are, I think, most likely interested in like mechanical or electrical or even computer science or computer engineering. But we need to find those things for, you know, what are the future industrial engineers doing, future mining engineers doing, what are the future chemical engineers doing in middle school and high school where we can get connected with them. You know, I know we host a regional science fair here, and I think we have some robotics outreach, but we need to think about what other things we can do to get those students engaged and aware of what the programs are. So, you know, and you know, one idea I had back at UND was, you know, the world needs more engineers in general, but there was really a shortage of civil engineers. So we had civil engineering companies coming all the time looking for students, and we just didn't produce enough of them. And so I thought, you know, the concrete canoe thing I think is cool. So let's start a statewide high school level concrete canoe competition, and you know, train teachers in high school to be able to mentor a team, and then we bring them to campus and they compete against each other. I mean, maybe that's a stupid idea, but those are the kinds of things that I think we need to do. So how can we get in front of middle school students and teach them about mining and the mining industry and how important it is to the future of the country, and engage them in some kind of way that connects them to our school, but also just generally gets them interested in the field. Anyway, but you know, those are the kinds of things that we're working on to market our programs better, and I think the marketing and outreach activities kind of go hand in hand. So I think going to a college fair or going to a high school and setting up a table and saying, hey, we're South Dakota Mines, we're here, we've got a program, is a lot less effective than it used to be. I think you need to get them engaged in some kind of hands-on activity where they can learn a little bit about what engineering is all about.
Yeah, so kind of building on that, do you think there's a possibility, or think it would be a good idea to allow mine students more opportunity to go out and mentor teams in the high schools around here, or maybe have high school teams that are set up here that come in and are mentored by mine students?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, if we could send you all back to your hometowns and pay for your travel and go back and talk to the students about what you're doing and the great experience that you've had here at Mines and the great opportunities that you're going to have in your career. I think we should do it. Maybe we give you credit for doing, you know, mentoring a team or doing something that doesn't work. I don't know, just throwing out ideas.
No, I know there's even teams in town, like I wasn't even thinking like sending people back home, but I know there's just in town, even locally, that'd be fair easy to set up.
Yeah.
Know that that's another good answer.
Yeah. If we could have an elective class that we could take and earn credit for doing engineering outreach. We have that in the But I mean, you learn a lot of things in those activities. Teaching middle school kids robotics you might not learn a lot technically from that, but you learn a lot about interacting with other people, and it's a huge part of being an engineer, obviously.
Thank you.
Senator Hill,
On the topic of Arrow, we're right next door to Ellsworth.
Yeah.
Currently, they're tied in very close to Bowling. but I know they're upgrading their bomber fleet. Norfolk should be moving in the next few years. So the school has a unique opportunity to shoot this work hand in hand and do that. The topic I was much more interested in, you're saying math and the way it's taught. I know I'd personally be very excited to work with you on that. I could travel with some other vets who just summed up their thoughts pretty well on that, so we've been very excited to move forward.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. And then, I don't mean to be critical of our math department. What's that? I'm sure they're great, but I want us to always be thinking about what is the most effective way and what is, how can we make learning the math that engineers need to learn as effective as possible.
We'd be very excited.
Good, thank you. And your point about Norfolk, I think, is a good one. I think we've had discussions with them in the past about having a presence here on campus.
So if I understand, their fleet should be upgraded next couple of years, so you have plenty of time to work with them. It'd be silly to say, make this a subsidiary of Northrop. They have money, and I'm not opposed to getting money.
Yeah, but they have a lot of need for engineers, and so if they can have a presence on campus and hire interns that could work for them, but do it from campus, that would be great.
Well, I'm gonna move to limit discussion from the senators. Do you have any questions you want to ask us?
Well, I did have a few, but just wanted to hear real quick from maybe you're on the room real quick, if you don't mind. Why did you choose South Dakota School of Mines and Technology? What was it that drew you to this institution? I know you all looked at other schools, and there are other schools that are probably closer to your hometown in many cases, so why here?
Well, for me, I was here for an exchange program at Central, and throughout the entire year, I only heard good things about this school, and it also had my degree, so that was my motivation.
Okay, great.
Very good physics program.
Okay, great.
Very good industrial engineering. Those are hard to find.
Yeah.
In fact, I like the competition engineering teams, all the camp teams.
Yeah. I think, the camp program is excellent. Great.
The Black Hills.
Okay. You good? All right. Good. I can see that.
I got the alumni state tuition even though I didn't like it growing up. I the avionics program and the freshman scholarship based on your SAT and ACT scores.
So, scholarships and the financial aspects.
My parents both went here, so this was a choice.
They told you you had to go here, or?
Yeah, I mean, they were persuasive.
It's a unique environment. You get to play sports and be an engineer, and that was very good.
Good.
Scholarships, and quite a few family members graduate from here, so they appeal to me to come here, and then probably prestigiousness, right? You hear about it, different industries across the country.
Good.
The small campus size and affordability compared to other campuses with similar program offerings.
Good. Good.
I chose it because it was a 6-hour drive away from home instead of a 45-minute drive away from home at the time, because there's Colorado mines here. I'm not from Denver, so not anymore.
And you wanted to be from home?
Well, just get more college experience. It was cheap. That was another big reason. It was 3 times less expensive than Colorado mines, and it's also 3 times. No, not 3 times. It's half Colorado mines and 3 times less students than Colorado mines, and that's the other thing. Kind of drew me here, just a small classroom size. My biggest class that I ever had at this campus was Ken 112, and it was maybe 100 students. So those are kind of the 3 things we're doing here, and it's kept me here. It's kind of the culture here. So.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the small campus size is a huge appeal. So the ROI. I mean, we're here for our careers, and so it should make sense financially.
Great.
Inverse Pagan, it was a 6-minute drive away from home. And cost of performance was best. This place is also the only place that has a computer engineering department within, in and around 2,000 miles. So there's also that.
I went here because I was familiar with the state of South Dakota. My parents grew up here, well, when I was dead. But the affordability of the school was a good advertising point. The reputation of like having really good engineering programs, like for chemical engineering. And being able to be around the Black Hills, I always was like loved going around spearfish when I was a kid, so it was like being available to go to Hill City or Custer was cool.
I grew up here and you hear about the school lines all the time, and I figured, oh, it's a nice college, but talking to people that actually came from thousands of miles away while I was in high school, and they're like, oh, well, this is one of the best, return on investment schools you can go to. I was like, oh, well, that's pretty impressive. So I figured to stay home and go to a good school.
Yeah, I'm actually an example of thousands of miles away from home. So for international students, this is one of the best schools in terms of how affordable it is. And this school has a nice electrical engineering program, so that's why I'm here.
Great.
Affordability for sure from Colorado as well, so they would have the appeal of being cheaper than Colorado, low miles. And then piggyback off of what Tucker said over there, is that for the athletics part as well, you get a unique opportunity to invest in your career outside of athletics as well as in athletics. So it's a good opportunity for me to start my horizon.
Great. Do you find, both of you find you can balance athletics and academics better here than maybe you did some?
Define balance.
You will always be sacrificing something, whether it's sleep or
That's part of it though. You go to schools like this not because it's easy. You go to them because it's like, I want to play the sport I love and also learn my knowledge. So kind of knew what we were getting into, I feel like, for most athletes.
Good. Thank you.
For me, it was the reputation of the school, and the price point and the class sizes. For me, I'm from South Dakota, so the School of Mines is well known as the engineering school. And I thought my main other option that I looked at was SDSU. And they have a very good engineering program as well. But the class size between those two is what appealed to me. And at least the sun comes out here in the wintertime.
It is nice, yeah. Good, thanks.
Several alums speak very highly of it, and Dr. Weiss has done an exceptional job in that department. It's a big draw.
Good.
Affordability in an ag school, so that makes me very happy.
The physics department's connection with the Sanford Underground Research Facility.
Yeah.
And after my first year here, I started working there, and that's also part of my research credit for physics. So.
Cool. Good. I have a meeting out there in a few weeks, and I hope to visit.
Yeah, do you get to go underground?
Yeah.
I might see it.
That is, that is a very unique facility, and it's busy.
Yeah.
Cool.
I am here for the community and the culture. I'm from the Twin Cities. I did stuff at the University of Minnesota when I was in high school, and I hated it because it was so big. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know my teachers. I didn't know my classmates. I did consider UNB because they are also very awesome, but the community and the culture of mines were really.
Cool. I had close friends from high school who were going to attend the school, and I wanted to pursue a career in medicine, and the molecular biology program is really good for pre-med students, and it was affordable.
Great.
Yeah, I was actually a Golden Gopher for a year,
Really?
and somehow wandered over here.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The price was one thing, but my degree, the Science, Technology, and Society, really got me because of the variability between science and the humanities and how it mixed well. I just didn't really find that in a lot of other degree programs, like even nationwide. So.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Well, thank you all for answering the questions. I think it's great to hear your perspectives, and hope to
enhance all of those things. I mean, we want to keep things affordable, maintain the strong reputation that we have, and make sure that we continue to have unique programs and great faculty to support all of you. So, all right. Any last questions, or I guess you already had the questions. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty, so before we start our bills, without objection, I'm going to call a recess until 6:11 p.m. So just to use the restroom session.